You're in a meeting. You want to say something simple like przełóżmy do spotkania. So you say, let's postpone the meeting, right? And yes, that's obviously correct, but there are other expressions you can use, especially in business communication, where native speakers very often use phrasal verbs instead. And the problem with phrasal verb is that very often you know them passively. And what does it mean? Well, if you hear it, you understand it, right? You might have learned them before, but you're not able to use them when speaking. It just doesn't come to mind. You just can't recall this phrasal verb in a conversation because the only thing that comes to mind is the basic verb. And from my experience, learning phrasal verbs and using them actively in speaking has a lot to do with the art of paraphrasing, okay? So simply being able to say something in different ways. So in today's episode, I'll show you 5 very common phrasal verbs that will instantly make your English sound more professional. But most importantly, I hope you will start using them actively in speaking, okay? So we will focus on quality, 5 phrasal verbs, not quantity. I really want to make sure that you will just memorize these phrasal verbs and you will start using them consciously when speaking. So as always, I'll give you a sentence in Polish to be translated, and then we will paraphrase it by means of phrasal verbs. So let's kick off. So first, let's translate it using a basic verb that comes to your mind, okay? And then we're gonna upgrade it by means of a phrasal verb. So let's translate. Musimy przełożyć to spotkanie. Go ahead. So we've already agreed that in most situations we just say we need to postpone this meeting or we need to reschedule this meeting, right? These are, I suppose, the most common ways of saying musimy przełożyć to spotkanie. But a phrasal verb that we could use instead would be we need to put this meeting off. So the phrasal verb to put something off. And you see, you might know this phrasal verb. Now when I've used it, you've probably thought, yeah, that's true. I recognize this phrasal verb, but probably in speaking, you wouldn't be able to recall it, right? This is a very common thing I observe among my clients. And you see, there is a huge difference between learning a phrasal verb like that without any context. I mean, put off equals odkładać na później, and learning phrasal verbs based on full sentences that you can right away use in a small talk or simply at work. So, for example, we need to put this meeting off. In this way, you will memorize phrasal verbs much faster, okay? Okay, so one more sentence to memorize this phrasal verb. Let's translate. Mam tendencję do odkładania moich zadań na później. Mam tendencję do odkładania moich zadań na później. Go ahead. So the answer with a phrasal verbs would be simply I tend to put my tasks off. Okay? Mam tendencję, well, it's more common to say I tend to rather than I have a tendency. Okay? So I tend to put my tasks off. And normally you basically insert this noun, my tasks, in the middle of this phrasal verb. So put my tasks off. Okay, another phrasal verb. So let's translate this sentence. Of course, you can try to use a phrasal verb right away, or you can just use any basic verb that comes to mind. Skontaktujemy się z Państwem, jak przejrzymy ten raport. Skontaktujemy się z Państwem, jak przejrzymy ten raport. Go ahead. Okay, so the basic version. We will contact you when or once we review this report. So we will contact you, not contact with you, okay? We will contact you when or once we review this report. Remember, there is no will here because we have this time clause. So after when, after once, we use present simple. We will contact you once we review this report. And now, more natural equivalent with the use of a phrasal verb would be we will get back to you. So that's the first phrasal verb. We're going to actually have 2 phrasal verbs in this sentence. So instead of contact, we can say we will get back to you when or once we go over this report or look into this report. Okay, so instead of review, we can use go over or look into something. So once again, repeat after me. We will get back to you when we go over this report or when we look into this report. Okay, one more sentence for you with this phrasal verb. Niestety nie udało mi się jeszcze przejrzeć umowy. Go ahead, niestety nie udało mi się jeszcze przejrzeć umowy. And the answer, well, unfortunately, I haven't managed to go over the contract yet. Or, unfortunately, I haven't managed to go through the contract yet. I haven't managed, very nice expression, nie udało mi się, nie zdołałam. Unfortunately, I haven't managed to go through the contract, to go over the contract. Or you could even say, unfortunately, I haven't been able to go over the contract yet. Present perfect, of course, because you have this yet word. Okay, phrasal verb number 3. Spotkanie zostało odwołane. Go ahead, let's translate. Of course, the basic version would be the meeting has been cancelled. And by the way, pay attention, passive voice tonabierna has been used here in this present perfect tense because let's assume the meeting has just been cancelled like today and because of that it's not going to take place. So the meeting has been cancelled. But now native speakers very often say the meeting has been called off. Okay, to call something off. So instead of cancel, use call off. So the meeting has been called off. And you see, probably now you're realizing, okay, I know all these phrasal verbs, but probably passively, right? So you understand them, it rings a bell, right? Brzmi znajomo, it sounds familiar, but again, in speaking, you get back to these basic verbs instead of using phrasal verbs. So it just needs to be practiced. Okay, another sentence with this phrasal verb. Dacie mi znać, jeśli spotkanie zostanie odwołane? Dacie mi znać, jeśli spotkanie zostanie odwołane? Go ahead. Okay, the answer, will you let me know if the meeting is cancelled or if the meeting is called off? So, by the way, the first conditional, will you let me know if the meeting is cancelled? So remember, after if we always use the present simple tense in the first conditional, right? Here, on top of that, we have this passive voice. That's why will you let me know if the meeting is cancelled and not will you let me know if the meeting will be cancelled. Zostanie odwołane. That would be the calc from the Polish language. So will you let me know if the meeting is called off? Okay, phrasal verb number 4. Sugeruję, żebyśmy kontynuowali ten projekt. Sugeruję, żebyśmy kontynuowali ten projekt. Go ahead. Okay, so the basic version. I suggest that we continue with this project. I suggest that we continue with this project. Of course, you could say, I suggest continuing with this project. That's also fine, this structure. And now the phrasal verb instead could be, well, I suggest that we carry on with the project. So I suggest that we carry on with this project, or I suggest carrying on with this project. Okay? You can't say I suggest us to carry on. Okay? This structure would not be correct. Okay, number 5, the last one. Musimy znaleźć lepsze rozwiązania. Go ahead. Okay? Basic version, we need to find a better solution. We need to find a better solution. And now let's upgrade it a bit. We need to come up with a better solution. And personally, this is my favorite phrasal verb. I use it all the time. So to come up with something. Wymyślić coś, znaleźć coś. So we need to come up with a better solution. And again, you see there is a difference between learning just a phrasal verb, like separately, to come up with something. Wymyślić coś, right? It's much better, much more practical to just learn a full sentence with this phrasal verb. So we need to come up with a better solution. Musimy wymyślić lepsze rozwiązanie. Okay, one more sentence with this phrasal verb. Właśnie wpadłam na świetny pomysł. Go ahead. Właśnie wpadłam na świetny pomysł. Okay, and the answer would be, I've just come up with a great idea. I've just come up with a great idea. Present perfect used here, right? Because you've just come up with a great idea. And by the way, speaking of pronunciation, remember it's come up, infinitive, bezokolicznik, then past simple came up, and then present perfect come up again, okay? So you can't say I've just came up, but I've just come up with a great idea. And this is, by the way, a sentence really worth memorizing. You can just use it right away at work, in small talk. So basically you learn it by heart and you use it all the time. Okay, so let's quickly review today's phrasal verbs. Repeat after me. To postpone a meeting, to put off a meeting or to put a meeting off. To review a contract, to go over or to look into a contract. To cancel the meeting, to call off the meeting, to call the meeting off. To continue the project, to carry on with the project. To find a solution, to come up with a solution. So as you can see, phrasal verbs are actually used all the time, right? Both in daily situations as well as in the business environment. And it's not really about learning all of them by heart or learning a list of all phrasal verbs, because in this way, you will still not be able to use them actively while speaking. But we've already said it, of course. The focus should be on quality, not quantity. And this is what we do in my course, Master 200 Phrasal Verbs in Business English, where every day you only learn 3 phrasal verbs, but in a way that they really stick in your mind, and you're able to use them naturally in a sentence. So we learn them based on full sentences, fragments from movies, paraphrasing exercises like today, and of course you revise all these ready-made sentences in the form of flashcards, fiszki, in the application. So if you feel you'd like to learn 200 most commonly used phrasal verbs for work purposes, only 3 phrasal verbs per day based on my formula with the emphasis on the actual use of these phrasal verbs in practice, just click the link in the description below this episode and just find out more details. Cheers!